India's farming landscape is at a tipping point. As the Kharif sowing season began, a sudden shortage of a key fertilizer, DAP, or diammonium phosphate, sent shockwaves through rural communities. What triggered this crisis wasn't drought or domestic policy, it was China. DAP is vital for young seedlings. It's India's second most used fertilizer after urea. But nearly half of our yearly need, more than 5 million tons, is imported, with China historically supplying up to 40% of those imports. Then, almost overnight, China stopped sending DAP entirely. For the first few months of the year, imports from China dropped to zero. The result? Opening stocks fell from around 2.16 million tons last year to just 1.24 million tons this year. Ranches that once brimmed with fertilizer bags now show empty shelves. The cause lies in China's strategic shift. A booming domestic demand from farmers and fast-growing industries like electric vehicle batteries has driven Beijing to prioritize internal consumption. Export restrictions don't always come as formal bans. They often include inspections delays, permits, and procedural hurdles designed to block shipments quietly. With China cutting exports, India turned to suppliers in Commonwealth countries, Saudi Arabia, Morocco, Russia, Jordan. But global DAP production is limited. As a result, prices jumped from around $630 per ton in January to $780, $810 in June, reversing years of decline. Farmers are feeling the squeeze. In states like Rajasthan, only 40% of the Kharif sowing is complete. Co-ops and private dealers report hoarding and unethical practices, bundling DAP with costly pesticides and biofertilizers, and charging inflated rates up to Rs1 700, Rs1 800 per bag. This situation has set off alarm bells in agricultural ministries. Officials are launching raids on hoarding warehouses and proposing to source bulk DAP through diplomatic channels. But these measures take time, and sowing windows are fleeting. India's dependence on imports reveals a vulnerability in its food security framework. A fertilizer crisis isn't just about empty bags. It threatens crop yields, farmer incomes, and long-term resilience. Similar supply shocks before, during the Ukraine war or global supply disruption, led to price spikes. This time, it's partially self-inflicted through underestimating China's pivot. What can India do? First, diversify imports. By building long-term contracts with diverse countries, we reduce reliance on a single supplier. But global production capacity is limited, and shifting supply chains costs time and money. Second, build domestic phosphate capacity. Setting up local plants for phosphoric acid and granulated DAP wouldn't just reduce import dependence, it would boost local jobs and resilience. Sadly, past attempts have stalled due to high input costs and complex regulations. Third, reduce usage. Through improved agronomic practices, like precision farming, balanced nutrient use, and soil testing, we can squeeze more productivity per kilo of fertilizer, easing the burden on national inventories. Fourth, enhance government preparedness. Buffer stocks, advanced tender planning, and grain-type regulatory oversight can make supply chains more agile and farmer-friendly. Without these steps, India risks repeating past mistakes. A brief pause at fertilizer stores might turn into a harvest crisis if this drought drags out. The Chinese move, part protectionist and part geopolitical, reminds us that globalized agriculture comes with strings attached. Exporting countries always prioritize their domestic growth, with China riding a rare earth embargo one moment and a fertilizer embargo the next. For Indian farmers, it's a harsh lesson. The resilience of our farms depends not just on monsoons, seeds, or subsidies, but on the global politics that shape fertilizer supplies. If we want food security, we must secure inputs at home and abroad. This moment could spark reform, from government policies to farm-level practices. If that happens, India can emerge stronger. But if we passively wait, empty fields could define this year's harvest and the coming decade of agriculture. In the end, this may be more than a fertilizer story. It could be a turning point. Some call it a crisis, others see opportunity. Either way, the time to address it is now, before empty bags become empty fields.
I'm sure you've heard the news. It's time to take action. Smash that like, share with friends, and subscribe for more. Cheers.